taking better pictures. The first thing to do when you look at the LCD or into the viewfinder is consider what you'd like to photograph. In your mind, though, should be thoughts on how to compose your shot in the most interesting manner. There are huge differences in just shooting a snapshot and composing your shot to make your subject stand out and to touch your viewer. Let's look at some basic techniques. The rule of thirds is one of the most talked about techniques for improving your composition. What the rule of thirds suggests is to divide the image into thirds both horizontally and vertically. So in essence, you're placing a grid over the image in the viewfinder or LCD. Some cameras come with an option to turn on a grid, but you should just learn to do it in your mind. The rule of thirds tells you to place your subject behind one of the intersecting lines. So in this portrait, there are some interesting images you can get. Here she is looking into the picture, while done from the other point of view, she's looking away. At any rate, it beats this one with our subject just standing in the middle. This means we have taken a snapshot and transformed it into a portrait or even a piece of art. Another thing to keep in mind is to use the diagonal to shoot subjects that are smaller. For example, this photo of a flower looks different and much more interesting. The diagonal takes the viewer's eye to your subject. When you're shooting people and animals, it's vitally important to get the focus point correct. There are a couple of techniques you can use to improve your photography that involve focus. Depth of field, as we outlined earlier, is the amount of the picture that's in focus. It's altered by changing the opening of the aperture of the lens. When the aperture is closed down, this is the highest number on the scale, more of your scene will be in focus. When the lens is as open as it can be, symbolized by the smallest number on the lens, the very minimum will be in focus. Here's a side-by-side of our still life, and we've shot it at opposite ends of the apertures, and of course the most dramatic focus differences. You can use this in your shooting when you want to use focus to draw the viewer's eye to the right part of the picture. Earlier in the video, we discussed your camera's zoom feature. While this can help you to find the framing you need for a photo, this is a feature that I recommend you use sparingly. Don't rely on the zoom to bring you closer to the subject. It's better to walk as close to the subject as you can, and then use the zoom to bring you in a little closer. Here's an example of what I mean. In this photograph of Las Vegas's New York, New York hotel, the first picture I took is a picture from a distance using the zoom. Notice the wires in the picture. Then I walked as close to the hotel as I could, and using a wider setting of my zoom, I was able to remove the wires from the image, get more detail in the picture, and capture a more pleasing, less confusing image. Tip number 2, don't stand so far away. Another classic example is a picture of your friends and family in front of a landmark. Many people stand as much as 10 or 20 feet. Heck, I've seen people across the room from the subject. People walk in front and all over, and you have these little faces with too much background on display. It's not what you really wanted. It's what you think you wanted. Instead, walk up to your subjects, use the wide-angle part of your zoom, and you'll capture the image you had in your mind rather than a photo that is unrecognizable. Give it a try next time you're taking a picture. Tip number 3, watch those backgrounds. Here's a shot of our model under a tree. Well, is she under the tree, or is the tree growing out of her head? The point here is to watch the backgrounds of your images. You want to make sure something is not growing out of your subject's head or looks funny there. Also, you can use too much background. If you've taken one of those, you can try and crop it closely. Here's an example. On the right is our original picture, while on the left is a close crop, where you can't really see the tree. The best solution is this one, which has no tree in the background. Position your subjects to have a simple and contrasty background, and your pictures will improve. Tip 4, headspace. So many people are trying to take a picture of people on vacation, put their face right in the middle of the shot. There's so much headroom, I bet you're wondering if our model's really short. Once again, walk up to the people or subject you're photographing. Frame your shot so that the subject's head is in the upper third of the image, then take the picture. Now, doesn't this look better? Tip number 5, don't look down. Here's a shot that has many of the mistakes we've talked about, but it adds a new one. We're looking down at our subject. Always try and be at the same level as your subject. It makes a much more pleasing photo. Once again, here's our example of the wrong photo, and then the right one. Tip 6. Get on your subject's eye level. This is an important tip when you're shooting family pets and small children or flowers. So many times, photographers will grab the camera and take a picture of Fido or Fluffy from their own high vantage point. You'll bring a lot more intensity to the photo if you change your perspective and get down on their eye level. It'll take a little more practice and more patience with your pets, but it's much easier with flowers and other low objects. When you're shooting children, simply squat down and then compose your shot eye to eye. Keep these tips in mind as you record your family moments this year. Great accessories. In this video, you've seen how certain accessories can add impact to your photographs. We'd like to take a few minutes to review these and to show you a few other tools that you might want to add to your camera bag. Lenses. Your camera already comes with a quality lens, but if you're interested, there is a wide range of lenses that you can attach to your camera to give you even more flexibility. Whether you have a compact digital camera or a larger SLR, you can find lenses that can be swapped out to give you a wider range of photographic possibilities. The first addition you may want to make to your family of lenses is a telephoto lens. This is a much longer and somewhat heavier mechanism than your camera's basic lens, but the pictures you take with a good telephoto lens can be spectacular. Here's how they work. Chances are your camera came with a basic lens that probably has a 50mm focal length. When you take a picture through this lens, you'll get a picture that approximates what you'd see if you look at a scene with your own eyes. A telephoto lens of 100mm would let you see things as if they were twice as close or twice as large as they actually are. A 200mm telephoto lens would let you see things 4 times their original size, and so on. Here's a picture taken with a standard 50mm lens. Here's the same shot taken from the same vantage point, but this time with a 200mm telephoto lens. You can see how much more control you can have over your image with a good telephoto lens. Here's the same shot taken with a variety of telephoto lenses. If you choose a zoom telephoto lens, you can obtain views at different areas of the zoom. Each of these photos were actually taken with the same 500mm telephoto zoom lens, simply zoomed to different levels. Telephoto lenses range in cost anywhere from a few $100s up to several $1,000s, depending on their rating and on their construction. I'd recommend starting out with a lower-end telephoto lens and then building from there once you see what it can do for you. While a telephoto lens increases the size of subjects in your view, a wide-angle lens increases the amount of the scene that you can record in a single image. A wide-angle lens lets your camera see more of the scene before it. It's ideal if you want to shoot landscapes. They're also very good at showing depth in your scene, if you have something in your foreground and in your distant background. They do this by capturing a wider angle of view than a typical lens. A typical wide-angle lens might be 35, 28, or 24, as opposed to your basic 50mm lens. You can also get wide-angle zooms that'll start at as little as 12mm. Here's a photo taken with a standard 50mm lens. Here's the same scene taken with a typical wide-angle lens. Notice that you'll see much more of the surrounding scene and the image seems better suited for the subject matter. Now here's a fun lens. This is called a fisheye lens, and it offers a 180-degree angle of view, giving you a distorted yet somewhat interesting image. If you want to shoot landscapes and want to add some additional flair and range to your shots, I definitely recommend a good wide-angle lens. Filters. Once you've settled on a lens for your photography, you might want to consider adding some filters. Filters are designed to screw into the front of your lens. There are a variety of filters that perform a variety of tasks for your camera and can affect the final look of the recorded image in many ways. One of the most important and commonly used filters is called a UV filter. It serves 2 purposes. One is to filter out ultraviolet rays, which really serve no purpose in photography, but can affect the look of your image. A UV lens is also an inexpensive way to protect your expensive lens from dust, dirt, and accidental scratches that occur from everyday use. Another filter we strongly recommend is a circular polarizing filter. This allows you to take unwanted reflections from surfaces such as glass and water. It also intensifies the blue and green when you take landscape photos. Circular polarizing filters typically have a ring that allows you to change their orientation. Here's an example. Rotating the polarizing filter, we were able to remove the glare from the window of this car and capture a picture of the driver. It works with water and other sources of glare too. Here's an example of a landscape using a polarizing filter and one without. The extra intensity makes the photo, in our opinion. Tripods. Throughout this DVD, we've talked about placing your camera on a tripod to help eliminate camera shake, especially in low light and slow shutter speed situations, and to make it easier for you to set up your shot. It's important to find the tripod that's right for your needs and for your camera. The two most important considerations when purchasing a tripod are its size and its weight. Size, because if your tripod is too small for the camera that you're using on it, it won't be suitable for your needs. And weight, because if it's too heavy, you'll likely leave it at home. An ideal tripod is both sturdy and lightweight. You can find tripods that are very large and bulky and made of steel and aluminum, and others that are extremely portable, lightweight, and made of plastic or carbon fiber. I always recommend that you purchase a tripod that is rated for a camera that is a little larger than the one you currently use. For one thing, a good tripod can be expensive, and if you upgrade your camera, you don't want to have to buy a new tripod every time. Also, a tripod often has to handle more than just your camera. Additional lenses and other accessories can add weight, and you don't want a system that's top-heavy. I'd recommend weighing your camera along with every accessory that you're going to use at a shot at once and get the most accurate weight rating. It's also a good idea to find a tripod with a fluid head system. These tend to be more expensive, but they are well worth it in our opinion. A fluid head helps to keep camera movement, well, more fluid. As you pan and tilt your camera to frame your shot, you don't want a tripod that jerks the camera around. A fluid head tripod is also very useful if you plan to use it with a video camera from time to time. Finally, we've got a very interesting type of tripod for your consideration. Instead of straight legs, which sometimes don't offer enough flexibility when you're setting up your tripod, this accessory is built out of several round segments that are connected together through a ball and socket system. They're really sturdy and they come in various sizes to suit a variety of camera weights. Lighting accessories. With our camera set up on a sturdy tripod, we need to consider how we're going to light our scene. There's a wide range of semi-professional and professional lights that might fit the bill, but more often than not, you're looking for a simpler option. So let's take a look at a few. Bounce boards. Sometimes there just isn't enough light in a scene and it's too much work to find another light source. Try using a bounce board. A bounce can really be any slightly reflective material from a piece of paper to a professional bounce screen, and different types of bounce will add different flavors to your photograph. For the maximum portability and durability at minimum cost, we recommend purchasing a bounce system such as this. From this small bag, this bounce system springs open to reveal a much larger reflective surface, and it comes with 8 different options to help guide or limit the light that enters your scene. See how some of these options change the quality of the reflected light and can dramatically change the look of your image. We recommend finding a bounce system that works for you and taking it with you wherever you go. You'll never